Nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. I'm Craig Manson, a fresh-faced, happy-go-lucky Craig Manson who is now, feeling free. I can breathe in, I can breathe out. There's no sore ears, there's no sore throat, there's nothing really. I don't feel anything ever since I took that cocktail of drugs over the last week to get myself through the pod last week. I kind of don't feel very much from neck downward. Anyway, great to be here. Really pleased to talk to you all tonight. We've got a fair few things to talk about. Joining me tonight is someone who told the monarchy they can keep their MBE rather than having it stripped from them. Alan, how are you doing, Alan McDonald?
I'm very well, thank you, Craig. And one of the worst arguments I ever had with a relative of mine was when I told him that I would reject an honour if in the very unlikely event of me being offered one. I was like, and he was like, "Your mum wouldn't let you." I'm like, "I'm 46. I don't think my mum gets a say in that."
And also joining us tonight, fresh from his trip to Dubai to become a rugby influencer, and then realised that maybe Dubai isn't the place to be staying at the moment. So he's got himself back into the Borders and into his very posh kitchen stroke dinette, I have to say. Mark Riley, it's nice to have you back again, mate.
Thank you very much, mate. It's good to be back. I've missed being able to chat to you guys, but the intricacies not being able to get any tech have been slightly annoying, but never mind.
Yeah. The last time, well, funnily enough, it's the first time we'd ever met face to face, and the last time I saw you was actually when you were shouting at the telly at high volume in the pub in Edinburgh. So it was great to meet up.
And, I thoroughly enjoyed that day.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, and we have had a wee message in from Brian Dalgleish already. Just as I was thinking, a quiet night, up pops the best notification. The best notification. Hey, Brian, that's very good. The best notification of a Scottish Rugby podcast. Well, I guess it's time for a cider or three. Cheers. Cheers, Brian. I've got no cider tonight. I'm working the one. It's a school night for me. I don't know about that. I'm not sure what that is that Mark's drinking. That looks a little bit like maybe warm and self-produced, but
no, that is absolutely the usual iron brew of an
iron brew. And I thought I saw Alan McDonald drinking water, but he's obviously realised that he picked up the wrong glass and he's got his whiskey started. So
no, that's an apple juice, Craig.
It was an apple juice. Oh, very nice. I'm sure. Yes, okay. So welcome to the Scottish Rugby podcast. Let me have a look. Our podcast is part of the Sports Social Network. Don't forget to give us a follow or a like on your favourite podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button because you will get to see our ugly faces, our beautiful faces. Beautiful, the bestest faces. And don't you can find all of our links on our site, www.scottishrugbyblog.co.uk. If you're listening on Apple and like what we do, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts as well. Don't forget to follow us on social media as well. If you'd like some more content and want to support what we do, we can't always just survive on Johnny McGinty's Tory money. You can subscribe to our Patreon from just £3 a month, and that gives you access to a super secret Facebook group. And the second part of tonight's podcast, we are definitely, I think there's a bit of swearing inside us. I think, Alan, you were saying you've got a few swear words to say later on when we go into the Patreon side of the podcast.
Yes, I was a little disappointed in the Glasgow performance.
Well, I would hate for Glasgow to suffer what Edinburgh are suffering at the moment. But what's nice is that I can discuss we can all discuss, in fact, an Edinburgh win and a Glasgow loss for a change, rather than it being on the other foot. But anyway, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that and then go from there. Our open to free air podcast tonight is mainly just going to be talking about the main news that has come through that Scotland head coach Gregor Townsend has made 5 changes to the starting 15 to go up against France on the weekend. All the usual suspects are there. Ben White, Finn Russell, Kyle Steyn is still on the wing, even though there was talk of either him or Darcy Graham being replaced by Duhan, but Darcy Graham comes in at 14, Kyle Steyn at 11, Sione and Hugh in the centres, Blair Kinghorn at the back. But when we go into the forwards, the bigger changes, guys, it seems to be Pierre Schumann comes in at loose head, George Turner hooker, Darcy Ray at tight head, Gregor Brown and Scott in the engine, Matt Fagerson, Rory Dars and Jack Dempsey, the James Brown of Scottish Rugby, who looks like he's crocked and he puts his jacket on and he throws it back off. No, I'm coming back on, is back to play for Scotland. And George Black, who's just put a little thing about a little message in saying, we discussed the team, is Jack Dempsey our most influential and important forward. We will discuss that in a minute. Xander Fagerson drops to the bench. Grant Gilchrist, Josh Bayliss are all there as well. But a Freddie Douglas, upstart, an Edinburgh upstart, is on the bench as well to come in with George Horn and Tom Jordan finishing the 23. Well, gentlemen, Tweeny rolls the Toombola once again and produces something that's interesting for us to talk about, which is always nice of him. Mark, what do you think of it? What do you think of the team? Where do you think we are going to have issues, or where do you think it's going to be performing well?
I think the backs kind of picked themselves to a large degree. I have seen a bit online about some surprise at Darcy being in over Doohan, which, I'll be perfectly honest, the debate has surprised me, because Darcy's going to be basically 1-to-1 with Louis Beep Beep. Mm-hmm. I would far rather see somebody who could turn in a phone box than somebody who turns like an oil tanker defending against Louis BRA. And I wasn't actually surprised by that. I figured that's what we might do. Otherwise, I think it's fine. I'm a wee bit surprised at Gregor Brown in the engine room. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a phenomenal player. But I know Max Williamson had a bit of a stinker last week. Or the week before last, rather. But I still would have liked to see a bit more oomph in the second row. Otherwise, I'm quite happy with it, except in the fact I'm assuming that Elliot Miller-Mills is injured, which is why Darcy racing.
I think it seems to be. I think that's why, for example, I think Murphy Walker was called into camp early this week. So I've got a feeling that that's obviously been the shift, has been Darcy's come up and Murphy Walker's there to aid preparations. But Alan, Gregor Brown, we've got to be pleased that he's actually on the field, though, I suppose, with Jack Dempsey coming back in.
So I
make room for him.
Yeah, I think we're thinking about this like as a French pack of old, a monster French pack. But this is a French pack that are playing two really back row forwards and second row. So I think there's an element whereby they're prizing mobility, and I think that was why Brown came on so early against Wales, was because Bayliss came on and Brown moved to second row so early against Wales. I don't think it was that Max Williamson was that bad. He wasn't setting the header alight, but I think it was he needed more mobility in the pack. And Brown, obviously being a flanker come lock or flock, as Franco tends to call them, I think he fills that well. And we've got Gilchrist on the bench if we need more grunt later on.
Yeah, and I think, I'm not a massive fan of recommending other podcasts, especially a podcast that calls itself the Scottish Rugby Podcast now and then when it's not, because we are the originals. But the best. The BBC pod was very good this week and had Gregor Brown on it. In fact, no, it's the fact that it's the BBC main pod that had the 5 Live one that had Gregor Brown on it. And if you actually have a listen to him, I understand. I got confused there because I was going to mention his name, Tom Inglis. I understand why Tom Inglis has got a wee love affair with Gregor Brown, because actually listening to him, he's a coach's dream. So it was quite interesting to listen to. So I do recommend you having a listen to that. Mark, Xander Fagerson on the bench. It's disappointing to not see him starting, but I think I understand why he's there.
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of torn when I saw that. It was like, do we want to... The popular phrase at the moment is paint the picture. Do we want to paint the right pictures earlier? And having Darcy Ray start, are we running a risk of the referee coming down against us in the scrum, because I appreciate you can replace the entire front three, but I don't believe that the referee's mindset replaces completely. If the referee thinks you're folding in the scrum, you replace the entire front row and he'll still come down against you. So I'm a wee bit worried about that, but I think Tooney has a tendency sometimes to start half of his strongest front row and then sub on the other half of his strongest front row. So you've at least got a great scrummager. We're not South Africa, right? We don't have a bomb squad. We don't have a full replacement front row. But if you think that Schumann's our best loosehead, our best props are Schumann and Zander. So he's starting our best loosehead with our second best tight head, and then we'll replace them with our best tight head, second best loosehead. I think that's the only logic I can come up with.
Yeah,
I think. Oh, sorry.
I was going to ask you. Sorry, on you go on.
No, I think that I would agree that has been something that Townsend's done. My feeling, though, is that Sutherland is probably our best scrummaging loosehead. Or certainly has been. He's been off the boil a bit.
Take his name out of your mouth. Pierre Schumann is the best scrummager.
I love Pierre Schumann. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful man. But I think he gives a bit more round the park than Suz. But I think Suz generally gives a bit more in the tight. Yeah. So I wonder if this is as close to a BAM squad as we're going to get. Actually, looking at the bench forward.
Well, you see, I was thinking more that having Zander Ferguson on the bench was the Mondain squad. So that Mon, so it's the Pom or forget it, Bomb. Forget. I don't get the chance to put any puns onto the podcast very often, because usually Alan is knocked out of the park by then, and then we're just tryhards after that. So I thought I'd have a go, but no, I just flew by. I understand that Zander figures, and to be honest, you're probably going to find that Darcy Ray's going to get 35 to 40 minutes, and then you're going to bring a very, very angry Zander Ferguson onto the field, which I've got a few, because he's no matter what anyone says, anyone that's not that's not totally and utterly into rugby, maybe has only been watching Six Nations games, might be thinking that they've left Zander Ferguson on the bench because he's had a poor few games, and he has had a couple of stinkers in the scrum and set piece. Not so much out in the loose, but I think it's more a fact of we're going to bring him on, and absolutely. And the same with Freddie Douglas. You've got Freddie Douglas there, who is just going to. They were talking on the BBC. They were talking about Rory Dars in his first full cap in the Six Nations. Scored something like 5 turnovers in the first 30 minutes or something like that. So you just know that Freddie Douglas is going to come on and make a difference.
I think he's got that mentality, and he's not the type to get overawed, by the occasion. And so I think he is someone that will just get stuck in.
Yeah. And so to go back to Jaws Black one's question, is the old Australian our most influential, important forward? Let one of you take it.
No. I think he's very important and very influential, but I still think Zander is absolutely our most influential forward. Without Zander, our pack folds 9 times out of 10, and we got no ball. However, I think the go forward ball that Dempsey gives us is hugely important. I don't think he's the most important forward, but he's possibly the second most important. I can't think of any other ball carriers that are in the squad or that have been selected. More on that later. But I can't think of any other ball carriers that we have that make so many of the hard yards for us.
Yeah, and
I
Alan
was very conscious. I was very conscious against Wales that our biggest lack of impact was lack of gain line impact. Yards after contact, hard yards off the base, etc., etc. And I think Dempsey's absence had a huge part to play in it.
But Alan, the question for me though is that no matter what anyone says, yeah, of course I'm a cynic about him at times. I'm quite cynical about him at times just because of his background, etc. But he has proven a very, very good player for Glasgow, influential for Glasgow, I'm sure. And he's played incredible games for Scotland as well. My concern, Alan, is that yes, he's got incredible go forward, and you can see him getting mad at other people when they're not performing to the levels that he thinks they should be playing at or performing at. My concern is he's a little bit like the Stuart Hoggs and the more old guard of Scotland who were the rock stars, but that was because they influenced the game themselves and almost tried to do everything themselves and then ended up making mistakes.
Yeah, he doesn't make mistakes often though. And I think if you're talking about ball in hand, he is probably our most influential forward, but obviously the game's so much more than that. It's tackling, it's breakdown. But I think our most influential forward is our hooker, for good or ill. And I think that's the same for almost every team. Because you think how important line-out moves are for launching strike moves from. And so I think it's a bit of a boring technical answer, but I think actually the hooker is probably more influential than the number 8. But Jack Dempsey's plenty important. He takes the ball on, he does take it into contact, he tends to make yards, and it is rare that he doesn't get the ball back on his side. So yes, I can see your point, Craig. I don't agree, because I think people in that situation are the ones that take the extra step and get isolated and aren't thinking of the team and recycling the ball. And I don't think that's Jack Dempsey.
I think he's a smarter player. I have to say that because you do see it a lot from Xander. Xander goes off 1-1 and takes the ball, breaks through contact a little bit, and then gets turned over because he's the only one there. However, I'm always a big believer in, especially when it comes to forwards, that if you get turned over with the ball, it's not just your fault; it's the two supporting players behind you that are at fault as well. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think what I personally would have loved to have seen is more of the Jamie Ritchie, Rory Darge, and Jack Dempsey back row. I think that would have been quite incredible to watch. I quite enjoyed it when it happened now and then. But I think you've got someone who's a ball hunter, a ball stealer, a ball poacher, etc. And Rory Darge, you've got someone who is in everyone's face, including the referees and Jamie Ritchie, and then you've got just this go forward machine that is the old Australian. So it's an interesting one, and I think it's a really interesting discussion. I think we should maybe come back to that because it at the end of the Six Nations and maybe have a chat about it, because we'll have to see how he performs this weekend, and if he will help Scotland drag themselves to a win against France, a much fancied France. Great to see Josh Bayliss on the bench. He is just someone who changes a game dramatically. Tom Jordan, George Horn, again, two people. Obviously, Tom Jordan's there to cover as many bases as possible, I guess, but George Horn is also one who will change a game quite dramatically, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things, isn't it? we've got a bench that can, and bomb squad, bam squad, whatever. We've got a bench that can change the energy when they
The
come on.
Monday squad. I'm not letting it go.
You're like Gretchen trying to make fetch happen, Craig.
So here's the question, though. So okay, we've got Tom Jordan in the wings, ready to come in at 15 if need be, or in a wing or in centre. No room for Kyle Rowe. There's a lot of talk about Kyle Rowe getting a chance and Blair Kinghorn being stepped down, or Blair Kinghorn being on the bench to cover. And I'm one of those people that's Blair Kinghorn should start every day and twice on Sundays, but. Mark, you've got Kinghorn, Darcy, Graham. You've got all the old guard back, apart from Kyle Steyn, who's been muscling his way onto the wing and producing problems for Duran.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Kyle Rowe. I think he's a versatile, robust, and talented player. But for the first time in a long time, we're actually kind of blessed in the back three. I mean, a back three, depending on the game, a back three selected from Kyle Steyn, Kinghorn, Darcy Graham, Duan van der Merwe, Jamie Doby, and Kyle Rowe. I'd take any three of those. I think there is a lot to be said for the fact that Kinghorn also plays in France with some of these guys at the highest level, and therefore has he's not in awe of any of them at all. And quite the opposite. Some of them are looking at a guy that they play with and beats them week in, week out. So yeah, I'd have gone Kinghorn. I don't think he had his best game last week or week before, but he's a class player. He really is fantastic. And
you see, that's a difficult one for me, Mark, because I understand where you're coming from. I don't think a lot of Scotland players had their best game against Wales, but for me, if you look at the Kyle Steyn try, which was the first try. Against Wales, that big rangy run of Blair Kinghorn was significant for that. It was one of the, along with Finn Russell, obviously putting them in the right place. So I do, there's a lot of criticism goes Blair Kinghorn's way, and I sometimes feel that it's pretty unjustified, really. And he wouldn't go to the best club team in the world if he wasn't a good player. And it seems to be that
is he with Leinster now?
I'm saying not a word. Not a word. I'm surprised that.
No, absolutely, I agree. When I say he didn't have his best game for Scotland, I think many people didn't have the opportunity to have their best games because there was a lot of real. I mean, the Welsh shut us down, and as a team, we played poorly.
Yeah. So that is us for Scotland. It looks like it's going to be an interesting weekend. Predictions, gentlemen. Who wants to go first? Alan, you got a prediction for the weekend? I think I know what your prediction is because you told me earlier on. But are you good? Have you got your background face, or have you got your out with Scotland fan face?
I think we're going to get gubbed. I just think it's going to be one of those days, unfortunately. Not least because I can actually make it to the game, so.
That's your.
I seem to recall not that long ago sitting in a pub with you in Edinburgh, and you're going, "I'll tell you this right now: we are winning. We are winning 4 games out of 5."
So no, we're clearly going to get 4 wins, but we're also going to get gubbed. So my prediction was 4 wins, and after the England game, I was like, "See, 4 wins still on." Look, can Scotland win this game? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, we can test France in a way that they haven't been tested before. You know, there's lots of jouet, and we are the team that if they are off their game with that, we can pick up any loose balls, take advantage of the chaos, and maybe just get ahead on the nod. You know, that is certainly a possibility. But if everything clicks, then I think we could do not much wrong and still lose, if that makes sense. So,
Mark, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, sadly I tend to agree. I think if we come out and play as we did against England, then there is definitely a possibility, but we can't afford to be 90% of our best, because they will simply monopolise it. I was very interested to hear Johnny Beattie, the young Johnny Beattie, talking this week. He'd been out with Olivier Roumas, and Roumas' son also plays. Anyway, he was saying he was playing golf with them, and they were saying that they think the French see our game as far more of a risk to their championship than England in Paris, which is fascinating in one respect, but the other respect being they'll be well up for it. And looking at their squad when it came out today, I mean, they're not taking any prisoners, right? That is absolutely the best squad that they could put out. The fact that they can blithely leave on the bench or leave out some of the people they have is just beyond belief, right? But can we beat them? Yeah, absolutely. If we are 100% on our game, if we are as physical as we were against England, I think if we put them on the back foot early, I think that's our best opportunity, as we did with England. But if they get a couple of scores up and get their dander up, so to speak, it may be ugly. Honestly, I think could be France by 18 or Scotland by 6. I think those are the two possibilities.
Well, I think Jalibert is going to crap the bed. I think it's time for this perfection to be thrown upside down by the people. They think they can create chaos. Wait till they've got us. I honestly do believe that Scotland are going to win this weekend. I think there's so much pressure on them, and also Galthié currently has been throwing shade on the changing rooms at Murrayfield and saying that they're so small and we have to change in the corridor and this and that and the other. Well, they're small for a reason. There's a big pillar in the middle there. That's a fake pillar that's designed to a reason to put you off your game. So maybe it's for me. I have to, well, there's a lot of talk about how good the backline is for France and how wonderful they are in this, that, and the other. I think looking at our backline, it's one of the best backlines in the world at this moment in time. And I think if our forwards front up and give them, we may not have the ultimate power that the French forwards have, but we have the pickpocket ability that Darge brings. Along with the Dempsey sort of mind, strong mind, etc. And we've also got Freddie Douglas there that can come on. So I think it's going to be a close game, but I think it's going to be a Scotland win. And I've totally not put it out there, but I've decided that's the way it's going to be. I'm manifesting. I'm getting in touch with my inner hippie, and I'm manifesting.
Scotland by how many points? 6-7? 6-7?
just like I thought everything was going well, and then it just oh man,
That was mostly to annoy Johnny McGinty if he listens back.
Yeah. Just well, there's been a Tory reference and a 6-7 reference, so there we go. Johnny McGinty, he was supposed to join us tonight, but he's too busy working. It's ridiculous. I honestly, I think it's probably going to be a 4 or 5 point win. But I'm hoping it's a bonus point win. But we'll have to see. I think there's going to be a few tries scored at the weekend. But we've got.
I think France will score 2 to 3 tries, so we simply have to score more than them. That sounds like a
the Bristol and Harlequins attack.
Blindingly obvious. But I think it's as simple as that, and I think a lot of it will be. I think, having read stats and things in the last week, France are just phenomenal in transition, so we can't be giving them ball. I think we will go to the air, but I think it will be on Atisogbe's wing with Kyle Stein running down his channel. And I think it will be all about speeding up our ball and slowing down theirs. And I think that's why Freddie Douglas is there. Simple as that. I think his turnover ability is fabulous, but his nuisance ability is up there too. And I think slowing down their ball and making sure we get quick ball is what the game will ride on.
Cool. Well, on that note, we'll call it quits for the open part of the pod, and we're going to go and move over to the Patreon side, where we're going to discuss Glasgow and Edinburgh games at the weekend, and also our patented Hands in the Ruck section, where we get to discover what's been written you're knitting in rugby this week, and we get to see Mark disappear to go and get a glass of wine while the music is on, because he's already got his glass of wine, so he's going to have to sit and listen to the music part of the Hands in the Ruck, just to cheer him up. So thank you to my friends Mark and Allan for coming on the pod tonight and being part of the pod. Allan, I don't know how to put it. What way would you put it, Allan? Would you put it that thank you to Allan McDonald for
joining us on the pod today?
Oh, was it tonight? I thought you were grimacing because you were thinking I was sounding like I was some sort of maniacal dictator who needs to be deposed before I start bombing all the influencers in Dubai.
Won't somebody think of the influencers?
Well, they're all on Instagram at the moment, trying to get people to think of them. So anyway, we'll move on quickly because that's just going to disintegrate into a diatribe of hatred for influencers. So thank you very much to Allan McDonald and Mark for coming on the pod tonight and joining me here. And thank you to you all for tuning in and listening. Rory creates evening. We didn't get a chance to say hello. So hello, Rory. And we will leave it at that. And thank you very much. Have a good week. And Allez l'Écosse.
Allez l'Écosse.
Cheers, folks.
Bye. Right, I'm really sorry. I don't know how to end I'm struggling with ending all the streams. Did I just remove Mark?
Yeah, I think so. It just says remove everything except the rugby ball shaped microphone.
Yeah, I've removed it, and now I think. Oh, I think I've done a bad thing.
Well, we're still running.
Yeah.
I've
That's the one.
I take it that's our Rory.
Yeah, it looks like it.